Hey guys, what's up? It's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery from addiction and I share my life with you. So let's get some announcements and stuff out of the way. Let's get all that technical introduction stuff out of the way. First and foremost, if you haven't already, take a second and subscribe to my channel, you guys. It is absolutely free to subscribe. So just punch that button and sub me up, baby. Number two, if you haven't already, please go click out of the video right now and go give this video a thumbs up. It really helps push my videos out there into the YouTube flow of things. So exit the video, go give me a thumbs up, and then come right back. Come right back before Lance gets here, okay? All right, number three, if you haven't already, go and click the bell. Go to the bell, click it, and make sure that you highlight all notifications so that way you can get notified when I go live. When I go live and I'm doing cool ass interviews like tonight's interview. All right. So yeah, so was I, Brad. Hey Leroy, what's up? I was just over there watching it too. So I'm really excited to have Lance on the channel tonight, you guys. I'm really kind of like he and I have a lot in common. And I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised how much we all have in common here on the channel. So you guys know that my channel's about recovery from addiction, and then I share my life with you. But, you know, tonight we're going to have Lance share his story. Now, I watched him on 23andMe, but I don't think he really got into as much detail as I want him to get into tonight. So hold on, let me put his channel for you guys in the comments. Bam. Okay, there you go. I just linked his channel. I'm sure all you guys are already subscribed to his channel, but if you're not already, you know, there you go. Hey, Chrissy, get your face mask on, girl. That's right. My girls are all here. Hey, Merk. Hey, Molly. Hey, Leroy. I see all you guys. So tell me this. What have you guys been thinking about the pre-recorded videos I uploaded, the last two videos? A lot of my my Real Talk Recovery family that has been with me for a long time has already heard a lot of these story times, but there's a lot of you guys that haven't heard those story times. Hey Cindy, what's up, girl? And so I've been going through them and trying to like share those stories that I think that you guys who are new haven't heard yet, because I can tell you all day long to go to the playlist, do this, do that, but you know how it is with on YouTube. It's like we want to do the most simplest thing to get to where we need to go. So I'm like kind of retelling a bunch of stories. Heck yeah, Merk. They're so good. They're inspiring, but because of how intense they are. You made it out, but damn, it's crazy. Yeah. So Molly, one of my friends, his name is Frank. He watches the channel. His screen name is 80s Baby. And he was like, "You're the only addict I know that had $3,000 and took 2,000 of it and paid off credit card bills." And I'm like, I promise you guys, like, true story. Mama and Papa DeMeo will tell you guys, like, my dad stayed on my ass about keeping good credit. So when I got all that money from selling my car, I was like, damn it, I'm gonna pay off some of these credit card bills. So that's what I did. Hold on, let me shut these notifications off and let me text him. Hey, Goldust. Rock on, Goldust woman. And so somebody else also said something. They said, "Did you like not want to part with that car? Is that why you were trying so hard to sell it?" And I'm gonna tell you guys why I put it up for sale on like that, because I could not fathom just losing the car because it was not a bad car. I bought that car brand new. When I bought it, it only had 5 miles on it, okay? And it was a 2001 navy blue Ford Focus. And I bought it in 2000. It had 5 miles on it. And so when it got repoed, I was like, or when it got impounded, I was like, man, I can't just like lose the whole vehicle and get nothing for it. So I was like, what can I do? And I was like, how am I going to sell it while it's sitting in the impound? Y'all, I kid you not. I sold that car. Hey, Lance.
Oh.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, good. Welcome to my channel, man. I'm so glad you're here.
Absolutely.
I'm super duper excited. Okay, hold on. Let me see how the sound is going and everything. Just a second.
She's dragging. I see it.
Okay. It sounds good now. Okay, I keep on hearing like a little. Hold on. Maybe that's me. Let me put these on. We're real laid back over here, so no problems. Let me see. Let's see. Okay. We'll do it like this. We'll just do it like this. Okay. So, it's off the yard. Can you do me a favor? Just the way I like to start these out is I want you to kind of go back in time. First of all, I'm going to link your channel. We're going to link it in the.
Damn, this is not working. Kind of lost you. I can't hear you. I ain't got no sound. Can't hear you. Can you hear me?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit. It's probably on my end.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just let you kind of tell your story. So I want you to start out and I want you to tell us what it was like when you were a kid. Like, how did you start getting into addiction? Was it because you grew up in a family where addicts were, you had parents that were addicts, or you had sisters or brothers that were addicts? What was it like when you were growing up? And then once you tell us that, I want you to segue into telling us how you started getting into addiction and how you got into prison, and then how you got sober and where you're at today. And I want you to just tell it all. Okay?
All righty. Well, I guess I'll start with early on. You know, my father left when I was like 3 years old, 2 or 3 years old, real early. And me and my mom kind of bounced around for a little while. And, you know, he never came back into the picture, so it wasn't no big deal. We didn't have a lot of money, so we didn't live in the best areas, you know, for a long time.
Yeah.
Eventually, she met the man she married, you know, and they got together, had another kid, and it kind of just looked like she kind of wanted to forget about her old life. She wanted to forget that she was poor. She wanted to forget that we lived in trailers. She wanted to forget we lived in shitty neighborhoods. She was brand new. Her life was new, and she enjoyed her new life and wanted to keep it that way. So, and I also think that her new husband, I was a constant reminder of my father, you know. So we never got along too well, and it caused a lot of tension. And before I was addicted to drugs or alcohol, I was addicted to anger. You know, I was a very angry kid. I liked to fight a lot at school, teachers, students, it didn't matter, kids in the neighborhood. Well, got me into a lot of trouble, like 11, 12 years old. You know, as far as drugs, where I smoked a little pot, you know, with the kids from the neighborhood, you know, behind the school or whatever. But I got locked up at, I think it was 12, right at the end of 11 or 12 years old. Went to juvie, um, and it didn't scare me. It didn't have the effect I think that they wanted it to have. When I came out,
Yeah.
I think I was just more proud that I had accomplished that, you know, at such an early
Yeah.
age. And all the kids thought I was cool, and I felt accepted. I wasn't feeling accepted at home. You know, I wasn't feeling embraced by the family unit. So I realized quick in life that I could get attention this way. So that's what I did. And when you're involved in that type of lifestyle already early in life, you're going to be ingratiated around people who are into negative things, just like drugs. So my first drugs really were like marijuana, alcohol. You know, I started doing that very early, 12, 13 years old. I'm drinking with the older kids. We had this little spot in this neighborhood, and it was down there in like a sewer area, and there was this big concrete platform, and we all used to sit out there and get drunk as hell. And then, you know, they'd help me get home, walk me halfway to my house, and I'd hopefully make the rest of the way myself. But when I would drink, I'm one of the people who just can't drink because I'm either going to get real angry and I'm going to want, and all that shit from my past is going to come up. You know, my father, my stepfather
Yeah.
was very physically abusive, man. He would, it was ass whippings for everything when it came to me. My half brother, the son they had, never got touched. He could mess up and I'd get beat for
Damn.
his shit, you know. So
Yeah.
that not only pissed me off, but honestly, it just hurt. It was like, damn, my real father left, and now this was kicking the shit out of me, and mom's letting it happen on all ends. So, um, you know, as a teenager, I found, um, I found a family amongst drug addicts, and I found a family amongst people who were disenfranchised, such as myself, and we all, you know, hung together because that was our common denominator was that everything at home was shit. So um, I kept on kind of going in and out of juvie until finally the judge asked my mother, like, what do you really want to do with him? And she said, man, just we don't want him home no more. You know, commit him to the state. So
Wow.
I went to Beaumont for about 2.5 years. Um, and I was supposed to do juvenile life, which was 21. Uh, I ended up taking some programs. This is early Beaumont. This is when they still had cottages. You know, I'm 40, almost 41 years old. So this place was still like one of the main places for juveniles. And to this day, it's one of the worst prisons I was ever in. I saw a lot of things at that place, that juvie center, that they could make movies out of. But
Uh-huh.
it, it to be gone that long at such a young age, and to be surrounded by kids who are doing life sentences, to be surrounded and just like explain like this: you being a white kid at that time, living in Fredericksburg, coming from Fredericksburg into this environment. If you didn't know how to fight when you got there, you sure as hell learned by the time you left. And
Yeah.
not only did it not, um, it didn't help me in any type of way, but it made me worse. I came home not only more angry, not more pissed off than ever, but now I was institutionalized already. I didn't know how to live in the real world. I hadn't been
I
out there,
mean,
you know.
you were so young. I feel like at that point your mom could have like had you put into therapy. She could have like worked with you and gotten you help instead of just committing you over to the state. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they
And I can imagine as being a young boy and having like not having your dad around and then having that stepdad, that probably like really affected you and you probably internalized that and then acted it out because you didn't have your real dad there, you know?
absolutely, and just to fill this part in, it was actually the school had actually got me hooked up with a counselor, and I talked to the counselor. But this was like, if you remember, this was in the 90s, early 90s, it was more pushed at me that it was my fault by these people and that I was to respect my parents. And you can get all, in my view, you can have all the counselors in the world. But when you leave that counselor's office, if your environment at home is toxic, then anything that you talked about is null and void, because your reality is not going to coincide with what this guy's talking about. You know what I'm saying? They can give you all the tips in the world, but you can't use those tools in an environment where people are just volatile and hateful and just toxic individuals. So when I came home from the juvie center, I took this program and I got out at 17. And I stayed home at my mother's house. She accepted me back, but I was there for about 2 weeks and I left. So now I'm 17 years old. I'm living on the street. I'm sleeping on rooftops around the city. I'm, walking around panhandling. I'm robbing people. I'm getting high. This is where, right around here is where, like, I started really getting into hard drugs. Like, I had sniffed some coke here and there, and I, ate some pills. But now I felt like I was free from that prison that I had been in, not only the real prison, but the prison at home. And now I could explore. I could find out who I was, because I wasn't constantly defending myself. You can't grow that way. So now I felt I could grow, and I grew the wrong direction, obviously. This is where I started to experiment with shooting dope. And at first it wasn't a lot. I met some people that were from Philadelphia, this couple, and they were living in a motel, and they took a liking to me. So I used to just hang with them, and I would sleep on their motel room floor. Now I'm 17 years old, so I don't know what I'm doing, and they were dope fiends, they were junkies, and she was actually the first person to ever shoot me up. And it was like, when I felt that shot, the best way I can describe.
Okay, hold on a second. Are we talking about heroin or methamphetamine?
No, heroin. Heroin was the first thing I ever got.
Okay.
Yeah. And the best way I can describe it is
that
it was like having a warm blanket wrapped inside of me. You know what I mean? And it solved everything. I didn't have to deal with anything, because the only thing that mattered was how good I felt. And I never felt that good in my whole life. So I found it. I found what I've been looking for. All these years, I found it. It was right here. So I was the quintessential dope fiend. I enjoyed it. I didn't mind living in squalor. I didn't mind anything, because I wasn't aware of anything, because I was completely obliterated all the time. So not long after all this happened, this was only about, I would say, maybe an 8-month period. I was living in, those people ended up going back to Philadelphia, but they didn't take my habit with them. My habit stayed with me, and I had to figure out how to get my own stuff now. And once anybody that's been addicted to dope, once your connect's gone, that's a terrible thing. So yeah. And so I'm living in these like abandoned houses. That was like my deal. That was my gig. I would find abandoned houses and I would stay in there. I came up with a plan. It was tax time, and I saw a kid downtown one day, and he had just cashed his income tax return, and he had a bunch of money. And my plan with my buddy, I was like, listen, we're gonna get this dude out to this abandoned house, and we're gonna rob him. You know what I'm saying? He's got a lot of money. This could get us on our feet. Well, I started drinking a lot of alcohol this night, sniffing cocaine. I was really, really wasted. And when I drink, I get violent. That's, one of my demons. I've been to prison 3 times, and every time it's because I got drunk and fought somebody, hurt somebody. This included. And we're in this abandoned house, and I go ahead and start to set it off. I started hitting the guy, and I beat him until I thought that he was dead. In my mind, I was like, he's dead. Stop breathing. He wasn't moving. So I left him there. I ran his pockets, took his wallet, took his car keys, and I drove off. And I ended up coming back because I had left some stuff at the abandoned house. And when I came back in the house, he was moving around, so I beat him some more until I thought that he was lifeless. And I took him out into the woods, and I tied him out there, hoping that he would just not be found. Thank God he was the next day. But we took the car. I stole the car. The car broke down. It was an 89 Ford Escort station wagon. It was on his last leg as it was. Yeah, it's fucking get the hell. So I go on a long story short, I go on the run for like, I don't know, not long, a couple months. They finally catch up to me. I get locked up. They try me as an adult. This was like 97, I think. And first time offender law back then, they gave me 5 years for this, which was for what I did to this guy and what happened that night. I really got lucky because I should have got 20 damn years.
Yeah.
So now I'm already institutionalized. So jail wasn't shit to me. I didn't care. You know what I mean? It didn't bother me. And honestly, I was tired of sleeping outside anyway. So I embraced. This was another place that I could be accepted. This was another place where I was like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel like the outcast. I fit in here. You know, and I became prison. I became more violent. I became more institutionalized. I became very callous to the outside world because I felt like the outside world had turned its back on me. These were my brothers. These were the people that loved me. These were my family. And I attached myself. I'm very young, so I attached myself to a lot of these people inside. I learned from them. I looked up to them. I idolized them. The guys that have been doing a lot of time, tatted everywhere, head blasted, face tats. That's what I wanted to be. And I had no problem doing what I had to do to be that. And here's the thing. On this first prison bid, I didn't do drugs. I worked out. I got big. I got strong. I got better. I did my time. I come home. Right. And if anybody wants to hear stories about these bids, check the channel. I'm not going to get into those stories on this channel. I want to, when I get home, the very first night I'm home after doing 5 years in prison, guess what I did? Went and met up with some old friends and decided I was going to sniff cocaine, drink a bunch of liquor. And it was like that last 5 years didn't even happen, So now I'm back, I'm healthy, I'm handsome, I'm good. Everybody's looking at me like, wow, you look so much better than when you did. So I'm feeling myself. Yeah. And all they did was make me get higher and higher and higher, and so I formed a very bad cocaine habit from about 2001 to 2003. I get locked up again, go back to prison, same situation, got drunk. I hit a cop, fought some police officers, went back for a couple of years, get out. First thing smoking, I'm back to getting high. So this is, the point I'm trying to make is like I wasn't learning anything because at this point in time, I had nothing. So I had nothing really to lose except freedom. And I'd never really been free. I didn't know what happiness was, so I didn't know what the hell I was missing. And I got out again in 2006, and I come home, and I had a son. So my son's mother at the time was like, look, man, we got this kid. You need to chill with that drinking and sniffing coke shit because, like, you get crazy and you're a nut. So we need to figure out how to keep you at home and keep you happy. I knew nothing about painkillers at the time, And she starts giving me she's like, hey, y'all got to go to work. You got to be with the kid. Here's a couple Roxy 30. Sniff these and you'll be happy. I promise you. You know what I mean? And that's what I started doing until I started to notice that when I didn't have them, I didn't feel good. And I was like, oh, shit. So by the time he was a year old, we was full blown habit. We had already lost our apartment. We was out and living in freaking motels and shit and bouncing around. But now it ain't just me bouncing around. I'm like got a whole family I'm bouncing around with, you know. And I'm sure people have seen these families who live in these motels and stuff like that. And it's not that they're bad people. It's not that they're just lazy. It's that most of them are strung out and they don't know how to get help, you know, because the system doesn't really work for you a lot of times. They want to help you, but then they want to take your kid and put it in foster care and then make you go through leaps and bounds to try to get the kid back, which I understand that, but they don't understand addiction because most of them have never been there.
Right. I mean, that's what happened to me. My son got taken, and I had to fight tooth and nail to get him back from CPS, and it was a lot of work, and some of it was really unnecessary, and they made it really difficult. When all I really needed, I needed help. I needed them to help me learn how to live sober without drugs, and I had to find all those resources and all that help on my own. All I got from them was penalized. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It was horrible.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to me. Is that I robbed this house. This is what happened with that situation. I actually robbed somebody, and that somebody had a friend in CPS. The next day, my son got taken, and I didn't know what to do. You know, that was my whole world at the time, and to watch that car drive away, and his little head in the back seat, turning around like, what the hell, bro? You know, and it to remember the way he looked, when he saw me get, you know, arrested, and twice in front of him. He got to the point where it was normal for him, and that's so sad. That is the saddest thing in the world for a 2-3-year-old kid to understand and be knowledgeable of the fact that his parents are sick. I tell the story on my channel about the time when he knew I was dope sick, and he brought me the Flintstone vitamins and said, "Here, you can take these." And to this day, it chokes me up every time I think about it. And to show people how strong this addiction is, most people would look at that and say, "Well, why didn't you just stop?" Well, it ain't like I didn't think about stopping. It wasn't like that wasn't the foremost thought in my mind. It's that I was so like just out there, you know, like I couldn't. Everybody knows you're so sick. You don't want to live. You want to die. But on this occasion, when they did take him to CPS, I found a lady who said that my son's mother and I could come to her house and kick it. She would put us up, pay for everything, and help us in every way she could. Real sweet lady, man, and I'll never forget her. And I really hate that I did her this wrong. And I'm gonna tell you what happened. This is another something for people to notice how bad this shit can get. So I did.
Yeah.
My son's mom didn't. I did. I laid down there, and I went through it. Cold fucking turkey. I didn't have no help. I covered up. I ate granola bars, drank energy shots, and binge watched CSI for about a week and a half. And smoked about 3 packs a day, you know, until I finally started to feel alive, though. And there's no feeling greater than when you wake up for that first time after you've been kicking dope and you're not sick. And you wake up and the world looks brighter. You see the colors again. You don't have the creepy crawlies no more. You don't have the pain in the legs. You don't have the backaches. Your stomach isn't tied in 60 knots. And I experienced that. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, yeah, I'm going to get my kid back. Because I only went to visit him one time. The judge even told me it's crazy. He'd never seen somebody do it this fast. I had it back in 2 months.
Damn, really?
Yeah.
I thought I did mine fast.
Yeah.
Because I got my little boy back in like 9 or 10 months, almost 11 months. But 2 months, that's like epic. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. And I didn't kick, you know, I went into treatment and then I had to go.
Just froze up. Froze up on me, hon. Oh, man. if I took this outside? You know what I mean? What's it showing there?
What?
On yours? Were you even looking at it?
You're still there. Okay. Okay, don't worry. He'll come back, you guys. Hey, you guys. What's up? Can you still hear me? Sometimes that the internet will go out like that. Let's see if he comes back on. Okay, good. Thank you so much. You still there?
Yeah. I think I got it.
It's not. It's either. It's like sometimes my Wi-Fi will drop, and so it is what it is. That's the only thing about doing it live is that there's little glitches like this.
Mm-hmm.
But you're doing great. We got 31 people in here. Everybody wants to hear the rest of the story. So go ahead.
All right. So, anyway, I kicked the dope, right, and I actually started to work with the Suboxone after a few. Like I kicked it, but even though I kicked it, I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling like myself all day long. I didn't have energy. I couldn't get happy. Couldn't stay happy. You know what I mean? So, I went to the Suboxone doctor and I started to kind of, work with him. And the problem was this: when you're trying to get clean and your significant other isn't, it will obviously create a toxic environment for you. That's what happened here. She didn't want no part of getting clean. She wanted to continue to try to pull the wool over the eyes of the system.
Yeah.
And eventually I succumbed to that myself. The inner bitch came out, and I was right back at it. I was selling my Suboxone to get dope, and ended up right back, full blown habit. And the lady that had helped me, I started stealing from her. I started to take her checkbook, write checks, and take her credit card. I would take money out of her purse until eventually she caught on to what was going on and told us to leave. She didn't call the cops at this point. We left, and we're right back on the goddamn path of addiction. Moved into a little apartment. Started doctor shopping again. I was going up to Baltimore at the time. I was getting my dope up in Baltimore, coming back, trying to flip and hustle capsules or whatever. And, down here in Virginia, man, I was killing it. I was getting $60 for one of those capsules. I'm paying $8 for them in the city. So I had a full-blown deal habit. And she had noticed that the lady that we lived with had noticed that something very important to her had been stolen. To this day, it wasn't us that took it. It was just misplaced, man. But she thought we took it. That was what sparked her to call the cops. So we ended up going on the run. By going on the run, I was on probation for a possession charge I had caught, where I got pulled over with my son in the car, and they were after me for that. And I had needles and rigs and pills and shit in the car. I bonded out and pretty much on the run. So I'm on the run for that. We're on the run for now for the checks. It's estimated out to about $30,000 in money that we had took from this lady. So we're down in at this point in time, Colonial Beach, Virginia, which is just a small fucking it's like a strip. It's like this little beach town, and there's nothing there. There's like 2 motels. We're living in the shitbag one. One day, the cops just show up and take my baby's mom to jail. And so I've got my son, a habit, no job, no money, and it's about to be winter. So I get out of the hotel room. I pack the car up. We shoot back to Fredericksburg, which is about an hour from there. That's where I was from. So I knew some contacts around there. I could live. I could do what I needed to do, support my habit, support myself. But here's the thing: is that now I got to take care of Bryce, my son, by myself with all this extra shit, and we end up basically living in a car. So we do this for a while, man. Like all day long, I'm out there doing what I got to do to get my high right, trying to feed him. And then at nighttime, it's about the end of October, November now, and I'm cranking the heat in the car, and I wrap him up with blankets and pillowcase and stuff, and let him fall asleep. And then I would turn the car off, and I would go to sleep. To think about this shit now blows my mind, but I
know, right?
I tried to get into homeless shelters. I tried to get into programs. They would not take me because I'm a violent felon. So there was one night, I think it was like freaking 10 degrees below zero. I go to the homeless shelter with my son in my hand. He's 3 years old. And I'm like, listen, I know you can't let me in. I know this. Take him and I'll get him in the morning. Just let him sleep in here. They were like, no, we're not going to do that. I was like, you're a piece of shit. I was like, what are you talking about? You're not going to do that. You know what I mean? I said, I'll sleep in the parking lot. I don't need to come in. It ain't about me, man. My son gets real bad. I think it's called croup cough. And that's what I was worried about. And this is what happened. One night we're laying there and he starts coughing real bad. I'm rubbing his head and I'm like, sorry, dude, just chill out. You're going to be all right. And he's sweating real bad. He turns purple. I'm like, fuck, right? But I don't care. I'm on the run. I know I'm going to jail if I take him to the hospital because the cops are coming. Once I tell him we're sleeping in the car and he's sick, it's a wrap. I know this. I call my baby's mother's sister, and she's like, fuck that. I'm coming to get him, Lance. We're tired of your bullshit. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, now you want to come get him. I asked you a month and a half ago to come get him. You know what I mean? But anyway, not her, but others. I tried to get him somewhere. But, you know, it wasn't their problem, and I understand that. You know, I understand that. But as we're leaving the hospital, and this was crazy, and this is to show you how tough these kids are. When we're leaving the hospital, we're going into the parking deck or whatever, and he starts realizing that he's not coming with me. Like, we're done. This is it. Like, it's bye. Yo, he snaps smooth out, and he's like, I need to stay with daddy. I'm not leaving with you. Let me go. He's like fighting, and she's like, what's wrong? He was like, what do you mean what's wrong? I got to protect daddy. He's sick. I got to protect daddy. He's sick. It's a 3-year-old child who is so just, it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. And I just broke, I just broke. And I'm like, buddy, it's fine. He was like, no, you're going to die. Daddy, you're going to die. I know you're going to die. And I was like, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. I promise. And so he goes to stay with them. And I couldn't look at the car no more because when I would look at the car, it would just, I had his little dinosaurs in the back, and I had all his little stuff back there, and his little shirts and his little stuff, and I just couldn't do it. And one morning I woke up dope sick and just had nothing, no money, nowhere to go, no hope. Just, I knew I was going back to prison. I was 135 pounds at this point.
Damn, and you were little.
I was a little person at the time, man. And I had just, my tracks were so long. I had abscesses. I had just, it was bad. I'd missed so much. I ran out of veins. So I was blowing my skin out all the time. And I took the car, man, to fucking scrapyard. I couldn't do it. I drove it down there. I was like, man, just take this shit. I don't even care what you give me for it. They give me $350 for my car. I take that. I go buy a bunch of Delights, got a bunch of D8s, and I started hustling that. And then one night, this is how my sobriety started, man. One night was the beginning of it. I go to the bar. I was going to turn myself in. My homeboy's mom was supposed to get a script the next day. She was going to hook me up with like 30 Roxy 30s. I was going to take them. boof them, take them into jail, and try to just come off of them like that while I did my time. I didn't want to go in there fucked up, you know? And
Right.
and so I was like, well, look, man, it's my last night. I'm gonna go party. And I went to this bar, and I had been doing a little work for this guy, like under the table, and he was supposed to meet me to pay me for the week. And I go and start ordering these drinks. I mean, I'm putting them down. I like 151 and Coke, so I'm drinking 151 and Coke, and I'm running this big tab up. And it's getting late, and I'm calling him, and his fucking phone just goes to voicemail. He starts just ignoring my calls, and I have no cash at all.
Mhm.
How am I gonna pay this fucking tab? So I'm calling everybody I know, but I've been a junkie for 5 years now. I'm goddamn, I burned everybody. Ain't nobody coming to give me shit. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
robbed everybody, fucked them over some type of way. Nobody was gonna help me. Nobody did. The bartender comes up and he's like, "Look, man," or the bar manager comes up. He's like, "What's up with this tab? We need to pay this tab." And I was like, "Look, man," I said, "I'm on the run. Um, I got to get my money from my boss. I'll give you my ID, but if you call the cops, I'm going to prison right now." I was like, "Can you help me out?" This is as honest as I can be with you. And I seen the bouncers starting to come around, and they all know me in there. I used to go. They knew I was a. I used to do a little cage fighting and stuff and boxing, so they knew if I got turned up that it was going to be a problem. So they started to kind of surround me a little bit, and I already knew it. So I back up into the corner and I'm like, "Listen, man, don't touch me, man. I'm walking out here, don't touch me." They tried to grab me and I hit the dude. And when I hit him, it's just one of them punches that was just like freakishly lucky. And it hit him here and it split his whole shit wide open. And I get to rumbling with the bouncers in there. They get me to the ground, they beat me up, cops come. They charged me with. I had to go in front of the judge the next day with blood all over me, and they ended up charging me with aggravated malicious wounding, and a couple drug charges. I was obviously dirty. I had my rig on me at the time, like a genius, um, and I had some other shit. All in all, I go to court. I cop out at the end. They give me 7.5 years to do flat. No parole, no nothing in Virginia.
Damn, really?
That's what they gave me for that shit.
God.
And it was mainly because my record. I mean, I've been fighting my whole life. This is the third
Right.
time I've been to prison for being drunk and fighting. The judge had it. Um, and just put out, Virginia don't play, man. You break skin out here, you get 5 years off the break. Um,
Damn.
so I get to prison and I'm clean for like 2 years. I'm clean, man. Went through the jail clean. Went through my first year or so in the prison clean, and I started getting that gang banging shit while I was in the jail, and I started to really um, be enthralled in that. And I was just super intense gang member. Ended up being a gang leader. That's all on my channel if anybody
Oh.
wants to check that out. Well, I ended up catching some charges in this like medium security prison I was at, and so they sent me to a higher level where drugs were
Mhm.
rampant. So yeah, I might have been clean for these 3 years, but I hadn't really been tested yet. So I was very vulnerable when I walked through the door, uh, and just seeing everybody getting high. It was like I was on the fucking street, and
Right.
I had some chicks I was writing, so I had money coming in. I wasn't broke. Well, I started, dabbling. I started with there. We take the Suboxone strip, we put it in a toothpaste cap and put water on it and let it dissolve, pop it in the nose and get you high. So, especially if you haven't been doing nothing
Mhm.
for a while, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. If you're opiate naive, Suboxone will put you on your butt.
Yeah,
But for somebody like us who were like, when we are using, and then we switch over to Suboxone, you can't even tell, you took it. But if
yeah,
you have nothing in your system, and I think that's what happens with a lot of people is they're opiate naive. They get on Suboxone, they're like, oh, I'm going to be getting high on Suboxone forever, and it just doesn't work like that.
no, it doesn't. It I started dabbling with it until I caught the habit there, and then that was pretty much my downfall in prison, man. I spent the rest of my time in prison doing it. So when I came home this time, regardless of what I was doing, right? I ended up going to this one place and a higher place and a higher place. So I was using it to cope with the environment I was in, which was not right, but it was what it was. I was trying to make it out of that shit. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
about 2 weeks before I get released, I really started thinking about what I was gonna do. I knew I was gonna come home when it happened. I knew there was no way I was gonna kick this shit in a matter of 2 weeks. Wasn't gonna happen. Um, so I made that decision. I made the decision last August or August of 18 when I've been out since August of 18 that when I came home,
Hmm.
I was gonna go to the doctor. I was gonna do it right. And a lot of people give me a lot of fucking hate about it. They're like, oh man, you just getting high. Listen, I ain't been high since I've been home. Okay. I've not done opiates since I've been home. The Suboxone doesn't get me high. I don't even do that. I started out at 3 8 milligrams a day. I've done weaned down to I do 3/4 of one pill a day. So I haven't increased,
Good.
I've decreased. Yeah. And some days I don't even do
Right.
that. There's days where I might just do a quarter. It's just honestly, if I hadn't, because of the PTSD I've suffered because of almost 20 years in prison altogether, because of a lot of guilt, shame, anxiety. I was coming home to a motel and a crazy woman. Like I had the odds stacked so against me that there was not a chance in hell I was probably going to remain sober, fresh out the gate. I needed the
Right.
chance to experience life with this new mindset, with my head on the right place, with my body in good shape, my heart in good shape, the desire, that purpose driving discipline I always talk about on my show. I was purpose driven. I wanted to succeed. I knew it would help me succeed. So I did it. Didn't
Right.
care what anybody said. Fuck it. I know me. I've been getting high for 20 some odd years. And let me tell you like this, it saved my life because it gave me a chance to work a job without chasing. It gave me a chance to wake up and be able to feel good. It gave me a chance to um, start building good relationships with people. I could be that person I wanted to be because I wasn't this person anymore. I wasn't a junkie. I wasn't strung out. I was anything. I was a guy who was going through maintenance treatment for an addiction. That's all I was. And
Right.
that's all I am today. And today I have a full-time job. I have a awesome, awesome family. You know what I'm saying? Two awesome kids. Great woman. Like, I mean, this woman is phenomenal. And I got a nice house, live in a nice neighborhood where nobody knows shit about me. You know?
Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
you're an addict and you're out there chasing, people see it. You might not think they do, but they see that shit.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
know. They see it. Yeah, they see the dark circles. They know you're pale as shit today. They know you ain't had shit. They know it. They see the tracks.
Wearing long johns in the summertime.
Yeah, come
I
on,
had to
man.
always wear those damn long johns, and I would
Yeah,
be sweating because I live in Arkansas. It's like 110 degrees here during the summer, and I would have those damn long johns.
yeah,
Oh, and it's just, but being on Suboxone has given you the opportunity to have a foundation
yeah.
and to be stabilized, to not be, because here's what happens with addiction. Our brain is constantly obsessing over that substance because we practiced getting high for so long, like our brains don't know any other way. So when you came out, just like you said, it was you were doomed to go back and relapse. So getting on medication that fills that receptor just enough to where you're not constantly craving opiates or constantly thinking about going out and getting high. And did you know that it also helps with depression, and in microdoses Suboxone helps with chronic pain. And so they're finding out so much about maintenance medication now, that how it benefit people long term. So that's why, like, one of my girls, she's been doing her homework on you, and she came over to my channel and she said, I found this guy, his name is Lance, and I think he's on maintenance medication too. You got to check him out. And so I told her, I said, go find out some more information about him. And then I was like, I got to get him handled, because that is exactly what maintenance medication was made for exactly like people like you and me who chronically relapsed, who were on drugs longer than half of our lives. You know, we are success stories. If we never get off the medication, we stay on it for the rest of our lives. We are a success story because we're not jamming needles in our arms. We got our kids back. You got a wife, you got your kids, we got our houses. Like, nobody should ever feel judgment for something that's helping them change their life for the positive. And that's a really big, that's my mission on my channel, is to let people know that are on maintenance medication or that are trying to get sober in general, that there's no judgment here. We are all about all inclusive recovery. And so I'm just so happy to hear your success with the maintenance medication and how well you're doing with it, because that's so important that more people like you share that positive success story, because there's too many people telling the stories about, oh, I shoot my Suboxone up, I get high every day, I sell it, and all that kind of stuff.
It, you know, I look at it like this. When you make that, when I made that decision to recover, first and foremost, um, it takes a strong foundation. You have to build on that, but it also takes a real good support system. And nobody is going to support you unless you make some type of step towards that end game. Listen, it's like I tell people all the time in my morning motivation thing. You have to plan baby steps. When you're on drugs for so long, you don't have formulated plan. The only plan you got is getting well. That's it. That's the plan. That's the plan today. So you can't go from one extreme to another and say, well, I'm gonna make me a 5-year plan right now. I'm gonna kick dope and I'm gonna do this. Nah, dog. First and foremost, you need to give yourself a chance to build back relationships that you fucked up. You need to build back foundations that you crumbled down. You need to present some form of positivity into your life to create that motivation that you need to succeed in your recovery. You can't just say, I'm clean now, here I am, love me again. It don't work like that.
Right.
So you use the Suboxone, you use whatever to initiate. It's an initiation thing. Now, how you want to deal with it later, I feel like there is no right or wrong. Everybody's different. You
Right.
got people that are cool with being on it forever. You got people that don't want to be on forever. That's completely up to you. But one thing about it, two things for certain, you ain't shooting dope no more. So regardless of
Right.
that, you can wean down the proper way now. There's no wean down from heroin, man. There's no wean down from that shit, because your mind isn't gonna let you, first and foremost.
Right.
Your body's gonna fight you, but your mind is gonna continuously pump that shit in your head. So most doctors that do the Suboxone are going to tell you have to go to counseling. Most doctors are
Yep.
going to start to initiate the wean down. And even if you say, hey, I'm not ready, like my doctor tried it before, I said, hey, I'm not ready. He said, well, let me know when you
Yeah.
are. I said, okay. So, but
Yeah.
you can build so many good attributes about yourself, and you can build so many great relationships while taking the maintenance medication, that when you do decide to come off of that, the people that you do allow to know that will support you. And it's a lot easier to kick off of 2 milligrams of Suboxone and have your family and your loved ones around you and have a nice home to do it in and have a good job to go back to 2 weeks from now and have the love and
Yeah.
respect of your kids, to have a few dollars in the bank. It's a lot easier to kick dope than laying in a damn hotel room somewhere with the whole world crashing down around you. Nobody answered the phone. You ain't got a dollar. You ain't got a pot to piss in. You lost your job. You have nothing. You're dope sick. You're too depressed to quit. You're too depressed to quit. Why would you? What's the fucking point?
Right.
That's how I saw it. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
use Suboxone. I've used it. It saved my life. It continues to save my life. And I'm all for it, man. I think if it's done right, it's a very, very proactive thing to do. I really feel like that, yeah. Because
I do too. Let me tell me this one thing. How, okay, so you got out in August of 2018, right?
mm-hmm.
How have you changed your whole, because how have you gotten to be the man you are right now? The positivity, the confidence, the recovery stability that you have. What besides Suboxone have you been doing that has changed you to the person that we're talking to today?
Well, to be honest with you, it's actually been this person that I am today, right now, has a lot to do with my wife. It has a lot to do with Brandy because I still wasn't all the way, like, I was recovering. I was doing well for myself, but I still needed healing. I still needed somebody to love me. I still needed to love somebody. And when I first got with her, I don't know about y'all, but as an addict, I've always been the type of person to, when I'm in a relationship, I'll push a little. Push. See how far you're going to go before you leave. Well, this was no different. When
Right.
I moved down here with her, it was real fast. We met. We talked about 2.5 weeks later. We moved in together. Moved our 2 kids in together. And it's been a ride. But I pushed because I cared about her so much. I loved her so much. I pushed harder than I've ever pushed in my life. And it's like I was testing her. And she finally got to the point where she called me one day on the way to work. She said, "Look here, man. Look here, dude. I get it. You're fucked up. Okay? Me too. We're cool. Stop pushing because you're about to push me right out the door." You know what I'm saying? She was like,
Yeah.
"I'm not giving you an ultimatum." She's like, "I'm trying to give you a life, dumbass. So you're either going to accept this shit and be happy with me, or you're going to fucking take a hike." And I sat down for a minute. I was mad. I was like, "Oh, who the fuck are you talking to?" But that was
Yeah.
the old me trying to rear his ugly head. But the guy that she was teaching me to be, not narcissistic anymore, but an empath, somebody who could feel somebody else's feelings. And let me tell you something, you're not going to do none of that if you're out there on dope. You can only do that
Right.
if you've had time to go through the process, to start to understand yourself more, because you can sit down and take a fucking breath. You can't do that when you're on dope. You can't do it. You don't have time. You don't have
Right.
the luxury. Thank God I was where I was at mentally and emotionally and spiritually, because I accepted that. For the first time in my life, I accepted her and she accepted me. And it's been, oh my God, it's been like the most enlightening experience. But it's also, we've been through a lot in a short amount of time, because she caught me at
Hmm.
the ass end of all this. She caught me going through some shit. She caught me just coming off a 7.5 year prison sentence. And
Right.
I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy. And I'm not going to say that you're not going to go through trials and tribulations. But those trials and tribulations will be a lot easier if you have a tool. They have so many tools against us. They have so many tools to lock your ass up. They're always like, "Oh, just put him in jail. He'll get clean then." Yeah, he will get clean until he goes to prison, and then he's going to find more drugs. And if he does get clean in the jail and he comes home, he didn't work on himself. Didn't do any of that.
No.
So
Right.
that's what I mean by having a support system. Because if I was on dope, she wouldn't have said 2 words to me. She'd have kept it moving. Because at the end of the day, she's got her son to think about. And but she saved me,
And you
man.
have your son, right?
Yeah, we kind of just all
You have,
blended. Yeah, we did it in 2 weeks of
and
meeting
does
each other.
he? This is what I want to do. I really want to have you on the channel again, and I want you to share with us another interview because this is really important to me.
Mhm.
I want you to share on the next interview how you and your son came back together and how you've been able to work on that bond and that relationship with him next.
Sure,
Because
absolutely.
so many people, because of me going through CPS with mine and having him taken away, I talk about that a lot on my channel, and I have a lot of women and men who are going through losing their children and fighting for them back. So you are so much like me. Like you are literally the man version of me. I loved it. You could talk. I didn't. Usually I have to like break in and say something and ask something, but you were just like, and that's how I am. I just da, 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 you know. So, okay. I love you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to link your channel and all that good stuff, and then I'll text you and we'll do a video in a couple weeks, okay?
Okay, hon. Y'all take care of yourselves out there.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Yay. Oh, hold on. Adding you back on. There we go. That was such a good interview, you guys. Give it up for Lance. Literally, Nicole DeMeo, only a man. Can y'all see it or what? He killed it. I mean, he's got such a powerful story. You could tell that he feels everything that he is saying. When he was sharing about his son, man, y'all saw me. I was getting choked up. I was choking back those tears. That shit touches my heart. And you can really see that the change in him and the way he speaks, the way he speaks about his experience, what he's going through now. I know, girl, I was crying too, Kayla. I was crying too. And so this is a success story. If you're on maintenance medication, you guys, never be ashamed, okay? Never be ashamed of needing a little bit of extra help, you guys. All right? Lance is going to come on the channel again. We're going to do a part 2. We're fixing to do all kinds of videos together because he's doing such a good job on his recovery, and I know a lot of you guys can relate to that. And honestly, I can relate to him too so much. So I hope you guys enjoyed this evening, and please go over to his channel and subscribe if you already aren't subscribed. If you guys enjoyed this video tonight, share it. Share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it on Twitter. Share it to everybody you know that's in recovery. Let them know that they're not alone and that recovery is possible. You guys heard it. Lance does morning motivations every morning. You can wake up in the morning at 7 a.m. and Lance has got a video uploaded. So go and check him out. He's really doing good things over there. He's about positivity. He's about his recovery. So go over there and tell him I sent you. All right. I love you guys. I'll have him back on the channel very, very soon. Don't worry, for a part 2. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with Mr. Jimmy. And y'all are going to love that too. So I got all kinds of good stuff playing for y'all. Oh, thank you, Cindy, for the super chat. Thank you, Captain, for keeping up with it for me. Okay, Jill, you can, girl. Let's plan a day for you to come on. Everybody, Big Lance, thank you so much. We love you so much over here at Real Talk Recovery, and we are behind you 150,000,000,000%, man. Keep on rocking your recovery, and I can't wait to have you on again. And I love you guys, and I'll see y'all later. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, you guys, too.